Alrighty then. Are you ready?
Yep.
Are you ready? You sure? Because we're live. We're on.
We're live.
Welcome
Okay.
back.
Sorry about that. I was just checking my messages.
No, I saw.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome back to Selling Frankston. Today's episode.
Yes.
For anyone who's been living under a rock, got the federal budget
Ooh,
coming out
very
and
interesting.
had a cash rate increase
Yes.
last Tuesday, the 5th of May. So, Dad, has a cash rate increase in your time ever stopped a buyer from purchasing their lifelong home, in Frankston or Frankston South?
The pure answer is no. Interest rates come and go. They go up, they go down. When generally it goes up, there's a little bit of uncertainty, especially leading up to that sort of period. But that question you asked, a turnkey property that's ready to go, beautifully done, that's not going to stop consumers.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
A-grade homes,
A-grade
we
homes
see
will
it,
always sell.
always get good competition. Do you think, though, it creates a lot of doubt and a lot of fear with people when they see 3 consecutive interest rate rises or cash rate rises now?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you have analysts predicting potentially another 2 interest rate increases later on in the year, and then on top of that, we've got the federal budget coming out shortly. In Victoria here, we've got a state election at the end of November. From experience, whenever there's a general election, whenever there's an election, whether it be federal or state, you'll find there's it slows down. And it's just not in housing, it's in the car sector as well. It's funny, those 2 sectors collide.
Well, fuel, what's been happening with the fuel crisis and everything? I know fuel has
Yeah.
dropped right back down now, but that definitely would have put a lot of pressure on, petrol cars. I mean, electric cars would have had a little bit of an influx.
Well, there's no doubt. Like I've got a, shout out to my brother-in-law. He works for, which used to be Glen Waverley Motors, one of the biggest car dealerships in pretty much Australasia. And he said he's never seen so many electric cars get sold in that time when, petrol was going through the roof.
Yeah.
There was a real panic buy. It was a bit like COVID back in the day when you were buying, there was a bit of uncertainty and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're going to have lockdowns. And then people went, you know what? Where do we want to be locked up in? If we were locked up, we saw a huge demand on the peninsula.
Yeah.
Because these properties, their lifestyle, and that's what it's about. Yeah.
Well, I think we are kind of not isolated in a sense, but we have seen such substantial growth amongst, all of 3199. I know Frankston North isn't 3199 postcode.
Yeah, it is.
But, it's 3,200 or 32.
3-2.
Yeah, so you look at it, Frankston North was the highest performing in all of Victoria last year.
Incredible.
Second behind it was Frankston. Now, Frankston was 4th in Australia as well. I don't know actually if Frankston North was where it went top 3. It definitely went top 3. I just don't know if it was
I think
first.
it did. Yeah, from don't quote me, but I'm pretty certain I saw something along those lines.
It might have been, I don't know if Frankston North was first, but
and interesting enough, like predominantly the home buyers that were buying there are first home buyers, but a lot of the properties that were achieving amazing results all went to auction.
Is this Frankston North?
Yeah.
Even a lot of investors though, because you look on a map.
Yeah. Yep.
Look at it on a map and any of the interstate buyers.
You're literally on the other side. You got Seaford, which is one of the best beaches, bayside, properties.
But back to my point, we've seen a very good performance compared to a lot of other suburbs out there amongst the whole of Melbourne. Everyone's saying Melbourne is at the bottom of its buying cycle. However, we've been in such a hotly contested market for the last year. How do you reckon 3 cash rate increases, a war, all these things are going to genuinely implicate? You've seen, and the reason I'm asking you've seen multiple property cycles in your time. You've been doing it for 25 years. Do you really think it's going to implicate, Frankston and Frankston South owners as much as what the media might?
Look, it's a very good question, Josh. I think it's a 2-tier market. And what I mean by 2-tier is you got a lot of old money. So there's people that have been, generationally, a couple of generations have been here, basically no mortgage. They've got investment properties. They're not strict. They're not in panic stations. If anything, they see this as a great opportunity to get into the marketplace. But then that leads to what what the plan of attack is in the federal budget, and with the leaks that are coming out with negative gearing and potential, the capital gains scale back. We're seeing the market here in 3199. Certainly, it's holding its own, but I think you're going to start to see people that purchased maybe 3-4 years ago on a fixed rate, and then come out and you got to remember there was 13 cash rates. It went down and then it's gone up. So effectively, people that were on when they were buying, the cash rate was at 0.5. Now it's 4.25? 4.35 now. So these buyers we're seeing that are maybe young mums and dads, people that have had kids. I think that younger generation's probably going to feel it more.
Yeah.
If they had two incomes and all of a sudden they've had a child, we're seeing a bit of that. And I think, there's, real, how can I say it? There's people that just say, look, just move the property on. And in a market when it does turn, you start to see people, they're not thinking about how much profit they're going to make. Yeah. It's just the actual release of stress that they're under, because financial pressure can be quite taxing on a lot of people. I've seen it, and it's, when you see people commit to a home, buy a home, and I would say in a market like we are now, sell first. Without doubt.
That was one thing I was going to ask you. If you are an owner, you've been sitting here, you may have been under a rock, not really paying much attention to what the market's done. We make a lot of calls and we will inform people of what the market's doing. And if you just listen to the media on Channel 9 or Channel 7, Channel 10, you probably would have thought Melbourne hasn't really performed all that well. If you haven't looked in your general area, especially Frankston and Frankston South, and Frankston North, those areas have really been, kicking up. Yeah. And a lot of people are surprised unless they've been, unless they're well informed, keeping up to date. Yeah. What are those conversations looking like since we've, this time 6 months back, we were in a very, the foot traffic, and we talk about that. The first real sign to see whether or not the market's really pushing and really going buoyant is to look at your foot traffic and the sort of buyers that are coming through.
Well, Josh, there's a couple of key indicators. So look, and it's hard because in real estate, we might list the property in January. And by the time they get everything ready, tenants out, it could be 2 to 3 months. Now, in a buoyant market, 2-3 months, you might say, look, you're going to be priced here. And by the time that 3 months comes up, and we saw a very volatile market last year for the better for sellers, right? But when it's the other way around, historically, you don't realise what the market's done until you look back the last 3 months and you go, geez, has it really, because as agents, we feel it first. Yeah. Does that make sense?
On the ground. We're on the ground.
And a lot of astute people that I know that are in business, they're always, you talk to business owners, how's the foot traffic in here? I love going into a coffee shop. I love my coffees. Shout out to Flourish. Yes.
What do you mean? I didn't realise you like coffee.
And Nature Cafe when I'm in there.
When I'm waiting for Dad to show up for the podcast, boil the kettle. I need a coffee. Sorry,
absolutely.
I've cut you off. You're talking about business owners.
Getting back, you talk to business owners on the beat, and I ask real specific questions. So how's the foot traffic? Yeah, it's not bad. How many people are buying coffees? Yeah, coffees are good. Food, are they purchasing? No. That to me tells you when there's an influx of cash, money's not an issue. Those extra things that you can get away with when money's freely there, and you just let go. Now that's where it's a two-tier market, because there's the older generation. You've got to remember the Peninsula is more of a older generation, retirees, lifestyle. Airbnbs are down here. The beaches are here, the lovely walks. People are still spending money, but if you go in and you ask questions to certain businesses that are quite prolific, they're saying our numbers are down. And as we see in our numbers for our opens, we're probably down by about good 30-40% on volume of buyers coming through for the same property. So to me, I'm saying to people, if you're putting your market, if we list it now, we need to sit down and have a strategy meeting as to our advertised price.
Well, really important thing is actually what your plan is. Like if you're trading in the same market, it's all relevant, right? Like you'd be better off right now, and we talk to a lot of owners at this current moment, with the market going the way it is. Obviously, like Dad said, if you have a property and you launch in a buoyant market and you're, settling, you're almost better off maybe even buying first, locking something in, and then selling, 6 months later. If you're selling in Frankston, that was, went up 20% last year. That's an extra 10% on top of your property.
Yeah.
That's an extra, if you looked at the median, then that's an extra $80,000. So that works. But when the market's coming off, it is always better to sell first, get your cash in your pocket, and get a longer settlement.
And for first home buy, for owner occupiers, that's really super important.
Yeah.
That's where investors look. The investor market right now, we've seen a decrease in investors. We still have them there. I think once we know what the federal budget does, when that gets released, and look, people are talking about negative gearing and so forth. People buy, just a quick rundown, like negative gearing. You buy, you're looking at all, you've got expenses. But you're trying to get the appreciation year on year. Okay, so you're at a loss, and then you can claim that against your taxable income. What we're seeing though, and I think the big winners here, and I'll be upfront, like people are sort of a bit timid, but I think there's some really good positives out there, guys. And what I mean by that, Josh, is Frankston and places like Somerville, places like Langwarrin. There's areas there where people are still going to be buying for investment. And there's no question, because land is quite scarce. There's also some zonings in parts of our LGA. We won't cover that, but if you do want to, if you're an investor and watching this, reach out, DM us. We'll be able to tell you, I can give you a geographic map as to where you should be looking to buy.
We are going to be talking about good value streets of Frankston today. And Frankston
Really?
South. Yeah, we will just mention A-grade locations. Just one. We're not doing what we did last time. But you said that you reckon that there are a lot of positives out of this. Obviously, it is very disappointing by the Victorian, not just the Victorian government, the Prime Minister to come out and, win the votes, come out 50 times, say never touching negative gearing, and then you hear a lot of leaks now. It's all leaks and speculation until it's actually certain, and that comes out tomorrow. I think a lot of people are waiting for that news as well. Now that brings you an opportunity there as well.
Yeah.
Not financial advice, but I do think that there are a lot of people on the fence about whether or not they're going to jump in. Not like you just said though, if you're confident about a home, you've done your research, you've done your due diligence, don't let these things stop you. Obviously factor in what is going to happen, speak to brokers, speak to your agents, understand what the next, sort of path looks like. But we are seeing...
Well, it's important to know. So when the budget drops, we'll unpack that a little bit. Like next week. Yeah. Next week's episode, when that comes out, we'll be able to unpack it and what it means for the area and what edge you may be able to take on that's going to help you fast track your portfolio. But I firmly believe that, look, unfortunately, government powers, they're always going to be there. We can't control what they do. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's no accountability on their behalf. Well, I mean, we've got compliance that we have to abide by as agents. We come under the governing bodies, etc., and we've got to do the right thing. Unfortunately, look, you're going to have governments come and go. Unfortunately, our government here in Victoria has really, left the state in a real bad mess, in particular with what happened with COVID.
Oh, and I think they're just trying to recoup every little ounce that they can, which is really disappointing because you think about how will, I look at for my kids, how are they going to ever buy a house in 20 years' time from now, and how are they going to try and make it ahead? I think the only route, and realistically, that the government aren't incentivizing, they don't want business, they tax you through the roof. Yeah. But then now they're going after every asset that you possibly own.
And look, if the hardest one, and I've always said this, if they go after the principal residence, and this is a hard thing, for investors, they are working tirelessly.
If they go after the PPR, no one's going to be able to sell their houses.
If they go after the PPR,
just give them to the government.
Yeah, but this is a real important thing for you to note, and this is something that's really important. If this negative gearing comes into play, your mums and dads investors are going to pull back, right? But what's really interesting, you're going to have large corporations moving in.
100%.
So if you look at, say, for example, some of the huge investment portfolios, Vanguard, BlackRock, and all these guys.
They've already been doing that in Frankston.
They've been doing that in a commercial front in Melbourne. Yep. When COVID was happening, they stocked up. If they bring this in, what they're going to do is, I don't think we're not going to see. We're going to see a lot of the consortiums coming in and the buyer's agents, or even they'll have someone employed. They'll just be buying up prime locations and then going up. The other thing is that there's not going to be, from what I can gather and the intel, new builds, you're going to be okay. You're going to be
Yeah, I've heard that.
This
This
is where the big Goliaths will grab land, demolish it, build apartments, and it'll be nice and cheap. And that's where I think Frankston's going to be a big winner on that. Now, is that going to bring in the right sort of clientele that we want to see?
Well, potentially. I mean, look at what the apartments on the Nepean Highway, they're fetching a very good dollar. They're not cheap. That's for certain. They're pretty expensive apartments that, you're going to have some. You look at the location, it's a great location.
I think the skyline of Frankston, as we know,
it's the next Sunshine Coast, guys.
Yeah, you've had, but you look at it. I've been a real big advocate for Frankston. Always have. I've loved living there. I love doing business there. I love the people in the community. And I think when you see the horizon, we've got a beautiful apartment, 208. Level 2.
208, one ploughman, that's horizon.
One ploughman, and it's amazing. Inside you walk in, like the other day it was a balmy night, I think it was. We had some people that were coming from the beach. It looked like they were just coming back, and they live there, and they just like, well, we're just on retirement all the time. I sold them a house. They brought in there. They were a little bit unsure. They said it was the best decision they ever made. So apartment living is something that's coming across, and we're seeing more. Like we're seeing some real affluent big fish. Like I met a buyer the other day who had just sold a company for over 50 mil. He's coming through looking, well, you know what? We might buy the penthouse. The penthouse has just come on the market at 4.3 to 4.6. So
it's interesting, the stigma that it's still, Frankston still has that little bit for some buyers. Like we've met a few that come from Mount Eliza. They still have that little.
There's always that rivalry between Frankston and Mount Eliza. We've always seen that.
Yeah, no, but it's just interesting to watch how the perception and they're trying to, grasp it. But I think it's showing that it's thriving. It's a great community.
Absolutely.
There's great people in it.
Great restaurants. You got beautiful restaurants. Great nightlife.
I will say this. I was putting up the pointer boards on the weekend, and it was quite funny. There was a guy.
For those people out there, pointer boards is when you're on a Saturday.
Self-explanatory.
You put the boards out, point out to not everyone knows.
The boards that you would follow if you're going to an open home. That's probably the best description. But putting them out and in beautiful Frankston, right near Kinetic Stadium, and literally see this guy on an e-bike coming up from a while away. Him and his missus, or I don't know what they were doing. They look like they're having a bit of fun, but he's got a scary clown mask on, just riding past, staring everyone off, and he stared me off, and it actually brought a bit of a smile to my Saturday morning. Yeah. It's normally pretty, not doom and gloom, but it's very early. Yeah. You're not really awake, and all of a sudden you see someone scare the crap out of you. So
question to you, Josh. What's been your most entertaining board scenario? Like putting boards out in the morning. What's something that you just went, wow, that's different?
Oh, probably that. Yeah. Oh, look, I've had it. There's definitely a few. I think you come across some really funny characters.
Yeah, you do.
You look, I'm glad that I'm a guy. I'm a man, and I can hold my own weight. I think you definitely, if you're doing it.
If you're a young, and that's a hard thing. If you've got a young cadet, or that's a woman going at it 4 or 5 in the morning.
It's dark. Wouldn't recommend it.
You wouldn't recommend it.
No,
what about me? Look, I reckon this is going back probably about 10 years ago. I was doing some inspections. It was actually at the back of my office, and back in the old office. And as I pulled up, I've looked in the laneway, and I just saw a guy. His hands up, and there was
what? Yeah. Wait, what? His hands up. What are we?
He waiting for the cops back, with his arms back, and I'm like, gee, that looks. I was half asleep when I looked, and then I looked, and I'm like, hang on, I don't want to see that. It was just a randy couple going for it in the alleyway.
Beautiful Frankston.
Yeah, lovely. They'll probably making babies.
Having a bit of fun. Bit too much fun. But
bit too much fun.
I think, look, anyone obviously we've touched on negative gearing a bit. Anyone that doesn't really know what those proposed changes are, I think for anyone that does own an investment, the leaks are coming out that they will be grandfathered, so they will stay in place as current for the people who do own investment properties.
Yep.
But what they are saying is potentially they would give a year. So say they impose and reduce the negative gearing to either 25% or 33%.
Yep.
Instead of 50, which it is now, they'd give a year buffer for people to be able to negatively gear between now and a year from when they release tomorrow's budget, and then it would be full effect. So, look, we'll wait and see. I think it's good for people to know.
There's some investors right now that are like, they've really, and we see like people that have been teachers, pharmacists, like they're not pharmacists, but they're just workers, labourers buying their second home.
It doesn't help any investor confidence whatsoever for you to want to go and buy an investment property here in Australia or in Victoria, specifically.
What the other problem that they're not encountering is not everyone owns a home.
Yeah.
Right? So renters, like you've got these properties that we've sold in the last sort of 6 to 12 months. What investment properties we sold, they're all gone for owner occupiers. Not many have gone back to an investor. So that home that was catering, say, for a family, 3 or 4 kids that were going to a local school, they would shop at the local. They're no longer there. And first home buyer goes in, there's 2 of them. These guys have to move out. So the demand for rental is going to go high. Like it's already on the peninsula, here in the peninsula. We've got more Airbnbs than most other places. So the problem that we got is there's going to be a real shortage of rentals.
Well, do you reckon it gives an incentive for anyone to actually sell up that's currently owning investment properties right now? Right now,
yeah. If you've held the property for more, say, than 10 years, absolutely. You would be, and we're dealing with a lot of people going, we've had it for 10 years, you know what? We can see what's coming. We know what they're doing.
You're forecasting growth. You're looking at what the cash rate is doing, and you're looking at what they're doing to next. It's a double whammy.
It's a double whammy. So we're seeing a lot of people starting to question. And also, you got to remember, Victoria is our state debt is huge. Like if you factor in Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia's, WA's, combine it all, we still surpass them based on those lockdowns and severe lockdowns, which were unnecessary.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. There was actually, I don't know if you saw, Josh, all the businesses that were affected, there was a claim and the Victorian government settled out of court. It was on the news just the other day. It was something like $125 million of our taxpayer money went to these business owners who have never recovered, right? And the reason being, you know what the main reason was? Because current ministers are on the bench for Labor. They did not want to go into court because those same ministers are running for... Yeah, they're the face of our current government. So this is where people are quick to forget, but unfortunately we're now getting, there's no such thing as a free lunch. I've always said that. Like even when COVID, like when people were like, I'll just shut up, get the money. Mate, we had to pay it back somehow. Now it's coming, the what do they say? The chickens are coming home to roost.
Definitely. I think that it's like you said, it's their lever to play now that they can. They push the cash rate up. They take from negative gearing. They look at how they can get the money back and where are they going to get the money from the people.
Well, it's interesting. When you buy property, stamp duty goes in. So there's generally speaking,
that's ridiculous.
It's 5%, right? So stamp duty we get. What
does that do?
Well, that actually services our emergency departments.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. Look, you'd have to probably dig a little bit deeper with our governments where the rest of the money goes.
I'd love to know where that goes.
But what's going to be interesting is with this negative gearing side of things, you got a lot of investors are going to pull back, right? You're going to have first home buyers, but first home buyers are having to pay stamp duty. But if big, consortiums, right? And what I mean by that is, say, your BlackRocks and Vanguards and whoever, right? They're buying up land and then they decide to build brand new townhouses, they're already exempt on stamp duty.
Yeah.
So we're not getting any more money into the coffers. So where are they going to try and get that money from? This is where I'm just sort of thinking, spitballing. What we've got to do is, you just got to look at the opportunities out there.
We're taxed through the roof. So, I mean, on our personal income, so you can't look at it any other way than that.
Yeah.
We're RBA forecasting to go up to 4.7% by the end of 2026.
Yep.
Let's go into the pricing strategy. What do we reckon for owners out there that are thinking about how they're going to sell? They want to, upsize. They think it's a great time to be buying in the market.
Yeah.
How are you forecasting how they need to position their property when it goes online?
Well, if anything, it's so important not to be chasing the market, so to speak. Yeah. So if your property's worth 1.5, don't be of the opinion, oh, look, I'll just put it on for 1.6, 1.7. Because I'm telling you, you will forever rue that decision.
What does that normally land? How would that land for an owner in terms of their numbers, in terms of their viewership online?
The numbers are going to be low. Every aspect of their campaign is going to be low. Yeah, you're going to find that you'll be lost. You're actually, we talk about creating the market on the property, and the owners are the ones that can definitely do that. Now, so when an owner says, "Hey, I'm willing to take this price," but you got some owners right now that will still go, "Oh yeah, we want to try this price." Ultimately, agents are smart enough to go, "You know what? Look, we'll take your business, but are we going to be working it super hard?" The answer is, if you know that they're already 10% above the market, and we're in a market where, if anything, it's not dropping, but there's less demand than ever before.
Yeah, there's just a lot less. We talk about being on the ground. We're the first to see it. The media are the second to portray it. But we see a lot less buyers than we did this time last year.
We see what happens because the last 3 months is prehistoric data. Yeah. So properties that sell 3 months ago, we look back and go, geez, that wasn't a bad result. Or, you know what? That was a good result. But if we were to sell it now, would we get the same price? And in some cases, we've sold some properties in February, March. We'd be lucky to get those prices.
I just want to talk about something. Every time there's a new cash rate, you should be looking at it as a new market.
Correct.
Because every time there's a huge amount of media, there's a huge amount of indecision, and it creates a lot of doubt for a lot of people. So you can't go and look and go, oh yeah, 3 months ago, this property down the road got X. That's fantastic. Good on that owner. I would not be basing it off when we go through our comparables. You look at comps, but then you also got to factor in what's actually happening on the ground. You got to look at who your buyer window is. If you're selling under $1 million, great. You're government backed. You got a heap of immigration, and you've got the first home buyer no income cap up to $950. Still got investors looking for very good, standard land sizes like we talked about in Frankston.
Yeah,
it's not as buoyant, but you still got people that will invest because of the growth plan that we've got in place. Over that $1 million, it is tighter. But like we said, you've got very clever buyers who are looking for their home for the next 10, 20 years that are going, beautiful, let's sell now and then lock something in.
What's going to be interesting is the government's trying to do this whole budget about trying to accommodate, and they have these massive words and, generational, what's that word?
Intergenerational.
Intergenerational.
Don't even know what it means.
Yeah, but, we're just trying to help you, blah, blah, blah. What's going to be interesting, and this is the hard thing, the market's not going to, I think, if anything, it's going to be harder for the guys to get in the marketplace. It's actually going to get harder to buy.
I don't think prices are going to drop off the face of the earth, especially in lifestyle locations. This is where I keep coming back to. Frankston and the Peninsula are very sought after areas, even if maybe they're taking a fear mindset now and going, oh, we got to get, that was a article coming out, there's a heap of Peninsula property exodus is what I saw. And I'm like, gee, that's a typical sort of media
fear-mongering.
news, fear-mongering.
Look, we got to be also realists. When you're in this current market, if you're a client and I'm sitting in front of you and they say, well, what's the market like? Guys, it's pretty straightforward. Like, you sell, if you've got a price of X on this is going to sell. We'll have lots of competition. Yeah. If you are anticipating a price of what you may think it's worth, or what a
6 month ago price,
or even like REA, some of their pricing that they've been spitting out for sellers that they may have brought 2 years ago, they've factored in.
I think they're including stamp duty on with that.
Yeah, they are. and it's like a bit of AI. AI gets it wrong. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah, it's not right.
It's not right.
How are we predicting an exact figure based on based on what? Is it based on comparables? And like we just talked about it, did they just factor in that there was a cash rate increase?
No.
Did they just?
I don't think they. And this is where
how'd they pluck that one?
Yeah,
that's where you got
it's a strange. And it's funny, you know what, when you do put a property on the market and the price that was spat out before, as soon as you put it on the market and it hasn't sold, the price actually comes down. So buyers can see that as well. And this is the thing, like, you know, we back in the old days, you could you know, put it on for say 1.5, and then someone comes down from the peninsula that's sold in Bentley, they see a beautiful home, they go, wow, it's on for 1.5, and agents will go, oh, make it on for 1.3. We're hearing that now. I don't know if you. I'm talking to buyers, and they're like, we spoke to an agent, and they had it on for 1.8. They were saying there was, make it on for 1.45. And like I said, well, hey, if they're telling you to do that, why not? If you like it, buy it.
Yeah.
Clearly, they know something we don't.
Correct.
And all of a sudden they get an offer, and all of a sudden they purchase it.
But like I just said, if you're buying something to live in, to enjoy, to love, you know, to be with family, to hold either forever or for the next 10 to 20 years, is what is happening right now going to affect you then? What would your answer, based on your experience, be?
My
Probably
experience is it's not. It's definitely not. Like if you're looking to buy...
Even look at the data. Go and look at the data.
Yeah. And look, long term, you're always going to be okay. So even if there's uncertainty, Warren Buffett always would say, when there's uncertainty, that's when you go and buy. And the smart ones are. So,
yeah. All right. We're going to go into the next segment. We're going to play our little game.
Yep.
We're going to do where the A grade value lives in 3199. Dad, I want you to define what you would think A grade, as in terms of value for money, A grade, and what your street would be in Frankston South and Frankston.
Look, I would say there's a certain pocket in Frankston that's on the fringes, and it's called the Golden Triangle. There is, you know, there is discussion there that the zoning's actually changed, which is evident. That is a sought after area, and I think what's going to happen is large corporations are going to go after that in a big way. Yeah. So on the fringes of the outskirts, you're going to see properties coming on, going for good prices, and then bang, you know, you're going to have street on street. They're just going to demolish, build these big high rises. Yeah. The inner, you know, so you're talking sort of post Park, Monash, you know, where Frankston TAFE is. Yeah, just off Cranbourne Road. I think that those areas there is a big site next door to the fire station. It's probably the biggest land lot that's available. Which I think, you know, once again, a big consortium will buy that, look at going up probably, you know, 10, 12, because you're going to have people that will be able to go straight to the CBD.
Go to the train station.
Walk to the train station, walk into town. We're starting to see that Frankston's got a really good vibe. And I think there's going to be more and more people as apartment living becomes more of a thing. We that's what they want. Yeah. Yeah.
I love how you asked me a question back.
Sorry, Josh, what would you say your street or best value would be in 3199 Frankston?
I'll just go Frankston, Maryland's estate.
Yep.
I think that, you know, that's almost, it has, I mean, you're right across from Kringle.
Yep.
You've got, you know, Whistle Stop Estate is probably the nearest and dearest for a lot of Kringle people. I think that, you know, if you're going to look at probably, you know, like you're going to spend the most in Kringle, you're going to Whistle Stop Estate.
Sure.
I think Maryland's is still very good value. You can get a very good home. You know, you got 1970s, 1980s builds.
And they're good structures.
Yeah.
Like they're not built, they're built well and strong, whereas you can see some homes you walk in and it's like 12, 13 years young. There's cracks. Those homes were built with beautiful timber flooring.
Well, I just look at the location too, right? Yep. Like you back on...
Penlink's there.
You got the Penlink, you got Kringle, you got Bellin Park, you've got schools, you've got Frankston Cranbourne Road, which gets you everywhere. Yep. You can also cut through all the back roads. You've got... Like it's just a very
convenient pocket. And then also if they ever, which I think they've been talking about a long time, if they electrify... that backs the train line, that backs onto that. If that happens, I think, there's a couple of stations further down, which Leawarra, I think it's Leawarra,
Yeah,
which is near Jubilee Park. You're in a really good spot.
I think it's prime time. All that from
good
pretty
call,
much
Josh.
north of that, from
Yep.
Frankston, Cranbourne, just that beautiful.
Yeah.
No, sorry, south. I was looking at it the wrong way. But that would be my little pocket.
And Frankston South, what would you say?
Value for money. I think anything that this is going to be it's very much a subjective opinion, but anything that's not beachside, I think is great value. I think Mount Erin Estate is beautiful. I think that Woodside Avenue, the properties you can get in there, the land sizes, there's so much value in there too, and they're starting to achieve some pretty damn good prices. In particular, though, I really do like Tiny Lodge.
Yep.
I think
Tiny Lodge is undervalued.
You put properties. You grab those properties and put them into beachside. You're spending minimum. Some of those homes would go for 2 to 2.5 comfortably on.
It's interesting. I remember one of my first jobs. I got a cadetship in sales traineeship for Builders Renovators Warehouse, which was a subsidiary of Swan Hardware, and there was actually there was a lot of builders building in Tiny Lodge. And I often had to hop into the truck, stack up all the cisterns and pans and the plumbing gear, shoot them off and drive out there. And when you go into the estate, it was like, wow, it was incredible. And when they were built, you had a lot of Federation style homes, just beautifully crafted home, workmanship. And that was sort of mid-90s. So if you look back now, that estate's 30 years young. Then you've had the new estate get built, and there's some amazing homes. We've had records in those estates. The most, I think the last 3 years, a bit over 3 years ago, a property sold for 1.65, which we got. Yeah. 17 Balmoral. We sold down on Stotts Lane, which was a record at the time. First property crack over 2 mil. And then we got the concourse backing on Frankston Flinders you sold that
199.
for 199. So look, those sort of areas, the quality of builds in some of those properties is insane.
I actually don't think you get that level going beachside. I haven't seen in a while.
The other important thing for you to know as well, Josh, and we spoke about this. Down Stotts Lane, it's a dirt road. They'll eventually make that into a proper road. Yeah. But down the end there is a tiny. Well, it's a petrol station on the corner of Baxter. No, it's not Baxter. Is it Baxter Touridan? Yeah, Baxter Touridan.
Yeah, I know.
And you've got Frankston Flinders. Now, there's a wedge there that then onto that is the off ramp to get onto Penleigh.
Penleigh.
There's a lease there. They're going to put a shopping centre in there. Which will cater for Baxter, which I think Baxter's underrated, but I think Frankston South's going to be able to.
That's another conversation.
That's another. Yeah. But what I would say is they're building another, like a little shopping centre there, which once again just identifies to me that, you've got the retirement village there. I think that sold for around 10 mil. Just out, where the Penleigh is, it's on the right hand side on Baxter Touridan Road. But you've got lots of things happening. So there's a lot of scope, a lot of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked where that, Tiny Lodge, like I said, if you want privacy, you want somewhere where you're not probably going to have as much, school traffic. You don't have a school in that little pocket. So it's really nice. Like obviously you have to drive everywhere, but it's very rare that you're going to buy something unless you're, spending a big amount of money to be, close to the water, close to the shops and close to schooling. Yeah. I think it's a cracking location.
Yeah.
How much do you reckon I was going to say, what do you reckon in terms of your one for Frankston South? Where would you be going?
I think where you can back onto a reserve, and there's a lot of properties that fit that criteria, whether it be Sweetwater Creek, whether it be Frankston Reservoir. If you have those, to me, that's value because right now, if you were able to pick something up that doesn't have a back, it doesn't have a back neighbour, it is impressive. So if you're looking out into treetops, you've got a spectacular view. That's something that is certainly, and we've got, I think, Gregory at the moment, 14 Gregory, they've got a reserve at the back that is the easement that runs all the town water they get the town water from Frankston Reservoir. We've got 40 Baden Powell, which has a impressive outlook overlooking the trees there and the treetops of Sweetwater Creek.
Yeah.
So like any properties that have views, you look at some of the properties we've got, they're amazing.
I want to put you on the spot.
Yep.
You had $900,000 cash
Yep.
to buy something in 3199. Where would you buy? In Frankston.
In Frankston? Geez, it doesn't give me much.
Well, I'd probably try and go if you could, an original 3-bed, 2-bath in the Marylands. That would be my plan because you still can.
Yeah.
And I think then you can. You've got scope to dual reno. Probably you'd be pushing it, or you'd go with a 3-1 at a cheaper level.
I would probably
extend,
because I've done it before and I've made money on it. Is I would spend $900,000 on a place that's probably the worst home in. Like I'd go to Lakewood. Buy something that's 3-1 and got the scope there to put a garage, carport, a minimum size of say 650 square meters, and then look at reconfiguring, making it a 4-2, and a 3-1-1 like 4-2-2. They're going over $1 million. So if you could pick something up, between that sort of mid 7s to 8s that needs a fair bit of work, you get a builder in, they scope it out. If it's just the cosmetics,
Well, it's a great location. Like you wouldn't need to move again. Like you do that up, you could stay there for
you could stay there for the next 10 years and be quite content. You're still close enough to CBD. You're out. You've got beautiful parks nearby. Penlink that connect you to the CBD within 42 minutes. So there's a lot of great things.
Yeah. All right. No, that's awesome. Now let's go through. You were actually talking. I wanted to go merch property of the week. You were talking just about the merch property of the week. 40 Baden Powell.
40 Baden Powell. Yes.
Tell us a little about that one.
Amazing property. It's quite universal. Like we've got a place that's 3 and a study, but it's also got a 4th bedroom, which is off the kitchen living area. But it's got a projector in it. It's got a cool little setup. The actual home itself is set on just under 700 square metres, but backs onto Sweetwater Creek Reserve, which, from there you can walk all the way down to the big puddle at Port Phillip Bay, go to Ollie's, have a coffee there. But the house itself, it's exceptional. 2 bedrooms, have got, en suites. Everything's been renovated. It's got a 4-car garage. And it's just stunning. So sitting on this huge deck that the stack of doors open right out, and just that aspect, it's northwest orientation. So you get those beautiful sunsets that we get, and just sitting out there. Like the other day when we were putting the fire on and getting it all going, it just had this beautiful ambience.
Yeah, I think you like you say, you always imagine yourself as a buyer, thinking about living in a home like that and what the good strengths are about a property. And one's a really hard one to fault. It's rare that you get the amount of car spots that you do on Baden Powell. You've also got this beautiful vista out the back. It's fully done too. You don't need to do anything.
Yep.
You just move in and really enjoy what that lifestyle has. You got a gate out the back on the Sweetwater Creek. You just walk out with your pets.
It's beautiful,
with your
beautifully
family.
done. You got a beautiful. It's got an amazing, and all the windows as well. Like you got this
the natural light is
and that's what people want. Like there's some homes you can go into. It's quite depressing. There's no light coming in.
Vaulted ceilings, but it's all been catered around the natural element, which is the garden, Sweetwater Creek, the light, all that sort of stuff. So, guys, if you haven't seen that one, jump onto our website merchant.com.au. and look up 40 Baden Powell Drive in Frankston South. Now, guys, that is everything. We're going to track back next week, talk about what the budget means for the property market, especially for selling Frankston. I think that, the market's been doing some pretty incredible things. We have been outperforming the rest of Victoria and if not Australia for that matter. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And we will give you an edge on to what that's going to be for owner-occupiers, investors. We'll unpack that and give you a real good insight. And by all means, look, from our perspective, we believe that there's always opportunities, there's always hope, there's always, whenever there's doom and gloom, there's always, positivity around the corner. You just got to look for those golden nuggets. So we're excited by, what's ahead and
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. And if you haven't, drop any comments. We'd love to know what your thoughts on this podcast are so far. We can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you.
See you in the next one.